Hey everybody, what is going on? This is Larry from Great Lakes eBikes, and today I want to break down the 5 things that you should probably consider if you are thinking about buying an e-bike. Now we're going to start with some more complex, like the harder to understand stuff, the more detail-oriented things, and work our way to the things that you probably didn't think you needed to know when purchasing an e-bike. So we're going to break down those 5 things right now. Now, before we get into the weeds with these 5 things, I just want to let you know, in case you're new here, my name is Larry from Great Lakes eBikes. We are a chain of 3 e-bike stores across Michigan where we stock the brands Aventon, Addmotor, and Velotric. Those are my 3 favorite e-bike makers on the market. Now that said, all of this information will translate to any purchase, so don't feel like just because I'm bringing up these brand names a lot that like it only has to do with them. So all of this is for e-bikes in general, so I just wanted to kind of preface that in case you're like, why is this guy only like trying to sell me an Aventon? That's not the case. That's just what I have in my store right now. So we're going to start with number 1 is the frame and wheel. So when I say frame, it's just not that simple. There's a lot of things to consider. So I'm going to start over here where I keep our folding e-bikes. Now they're not just folding, but they're also step-through models as well. And I'm going to flip the camera around. Now most folding e-bikes are going to be step-through. And what that step-through frame means is that, well, you can step through it. There's no bar going across the middle that's going to make it challenging to get on. Now, it used to be the fact that, step through was more of a ladies' bike and straight bars for men's. That's just not the case anymore. In fact, I, definitely prefer a step through. It's just way easier. At the end of the day, you don't need that bar across the middle. It serves no real purpose with how rugged most e-bikes are. The step through is just going to save you so much stress. Look at how easy it is. 1, 2, 3, and you're on your bike. Now, back to these folding e-bikes. It's definitely the one-size-fits-all solution. So these cinch bikes from Aventon, or I'll take you outside real quick. It's a little windy, I know, but the new F1 or an F1 Plus from Velotric, as well as the Addmotor folding e-bike, they're all really, really awesome solutions if you really don't know what you want to do with your bike. So the reason I say that is because 99% of the folding e-bikes out there have fat tires. Now, when you see the fat tires on these, you're probably like, well, I'm not going off-roading, I'm not going snow biking, I don't know why I would actually need, rugged fat tires. Well, it's not the case that it's going to be super hard to maneuver. If anything, it's going to add a super cushioned ride. It's going to be extremely comfortable. And the fact that they are very, very short in diameter, which means this is only, for instance, a 20-inch wheel, whereas, a traditional fat tire mountain bike has a 24 or 26-inch wheel. That makes it actually really easy to maneuver. So just because it's a big fat tire, it doesn't mean it's going to be hard to, weave in and out of traffic and all that good stuff. The smaller wheel size does make it very, very maneuverable. But enough about the tire. The other reason you might consider a folding e-bike is if you don't want a bike rack. They're expensive, especially an e-bike rack, something that's rated to carry a big, heavy e-bike. You might not want to buy a rack, you might not have a truck, you might have a little car and you can't fit a full-size e-bike to take up north or take to, the lake house or wherever you're taking the e-bike. The good thing is these literally fold in half right there to condense to an extremely small packable size, meaning your average Chevy Equinox or Jeep Grand Cherokee, you could literally throw these in the trunk. And I know that because I've done that in those 2 trucks very recently, or SUVs rather. So that's another huge plus. And you don't lose anything either. Like just because it folds, it doesn't mean in the slightest that you're not going to get the same e-bike experience, because you definitely are. And even if you never fold it up, you probably wouldn't even know that it has the mechanism there. And trust me too, these folding e-bikes, they're not new. They've perfected the way they fold. They've really done a good job with them as time has gone on. I've been reviewing e-bikes here for easily 3 or 4 years now, and I've seen them progress, and we are at peak folding e-bikes. So, and I say that to bridge us into the next sort of mountain bike style of e-bike. Now, what we're looking at here are 4 different models of the Aventon Adventure 2. Now, it's their newest model, and it is a do-it-all rugged e-bike. It comes in, let me kind of pan this over. This is the step-through version, as we just talked about over there. And then there's also the straight bar version, which is right here. The exact same bike, exact same components, one just maybe a little easier to get on and off of. Now, the difference of this, you are going to have a little more of an aggressive stance. It's similar to the geometry of a mountain bike. So if you're coming from the mountain bike world, or if you know you want to take these things out in the wild, maybe you're a hunter, maybe you're, I don't know, maybe you are in a place where you can take these on actual mountain bike trails, something like an Aventon Adventure, these fat tire e-bikes are really, really nice. Now, I'll just plug Aventon one more quick time here, because them, as well as Velotric, have sizes. Now, I'll show you this real quick because it's probably the last aspect of the frame / tires that you need to consider. Now, this is the regular size, but they also do a large for us bigger folks out there. Now, there's 3 more styles of e-bike that I want to talk about. Now, I won't get too into them, but it's worth mentioning. So, another really popular type of e-bike are cargo e-bikes. Now, you'll see here, this is called the Muck Pet Step Wagon, which is a good way to demonstrate the things you can do with this larger rack in the back. What you can this is made for like throwing your kids in and they can ride. You can also turn it into like a basket and take it, bike packing trips, if you will. There's mounting not only in the back, but on the front of these cargo bikes for additional storage as well. All right, 2 more frames to talk about here. What we have here is tricycles, literally tricycles. Now, these are definitely most popular with people who haven't been on a bike in a while, or people who want to do a ton of like quick, easy storage. Maybe you're taking this, across your subdivision or across, I don't know, maybe you live in a retirement facility and you want to putz around and you want the cargo room. It's basically a substitute for a golf cart for a lot of people. We've literally had a lot of people buy that and tell us that. So it's like a really fun, casual bike, but don't get me wrong, it still packs some speed. These are both made by Addmotor, who's definitely leading the charge in trikes right now. There's other brands, trying to make a trike, but there's so many different models that Addmotor is producing when it comes to these trikes right now that, I really recommend, if you're considering a trike at all, check out Addmotor, because they have one that will fit your needs, and I almost could guarantee that. Okay, finally, we're going to talk about what we're calling a cruiser bike. And when it comes to a cruiser bike, I'm really just talking about your, at its core, most basic, most traditional bike, but with a motor. So yeah, if you just want a classic bike, check out, anything with a standard 2-inch wheel. Maybe they're even smaller, especially if you're used to riding a more cruiser style bike. These are definitely the most popular when it comes to just your average e-bike. So, they're the least unique, definitely. That's why I'm doing these last. But, you can't go wrong with a classic, cruiser style e-bike here. All right, so we went through the different styles of frames, the different style wheels, and just kind of give you the lay of the land as popular e-bikes kind of stand right now. And now we'll talk about something hopefully a little more simple. I'm going to really dumb it down for us. We're going to talk about batteries. That's the number 2 thing that you should definitely be thinking about. And I'm gonna make it so simple. I'm just gonna talk about 2 things: amp hours and is it UL certified? And that's really all you need to know. So it's not like a one size fits all, but most bikes are 500 and 750 watt motor, and all of that pairs well with what I'm about to say. So I would look at the amp hours and just make sure it's like 15 or higher. And now it's gonna vary from bike to bike. If it's a heavier bike, if you're a heavier rider, if you have a bigger motor or a smaller motor, but at the end of the day, if you at least have 15 amp hours of battery, you're gonna be just fine. You're gonna at the very minimum get 20 miles per charge. And if you do need more than that, you're a special use case, definitely, but I'd say your average rider, if you're getting 20 miles, that's gonna be pretty good, especially on throttle plus pedal assist. You're gonna be just fine with a 15 amp hour battery. Now there is one other thing you have to look at that I mentioned, and that is the UL certification. So what does the UL battery even mean? It just means it's been certified. It's let me put it this way. If you're buying bikes for like $1,000 or less on Amazon, or cheap scooters, or any of those things that are, in the news for catching fire or giving e-bikes themselves a very bad name, they probably weren't UL approved batteries. So make sure you just check. All of the reputable brands will have this very, very clear in their marketing because it is important. So check, make sure. You don't want to be the person who, saved $200 on their e-bike just to burn down their whole garage. And luckily, that's a rare occurrence, but when it does happen, it's happening with those non-UL approved batteries. So definitely keep that in mind, just for peace of mind even. So yeah, UL approved and 15 amp hours or higher, and you're gonna have a good time. So this pairs well with the next topic, which is motors. Obviously you want a fast bike, you want something rugged, you want something that'll do the job. You probably want a 1,000 watt motor. Well, here's me kind of breaking the bubble on that is any e-bike you buy, any reputable e-bike you buy, it's going to be gated at 20 miles an hour anyways. It's going to have an electronic governor to make sure you're not using that full power of that motor. It's also in accordance to your laws. So really that means the truth is, honestly, a 500 watt motor can get the job done more often than not. Really what I say, the safe spot is a 750 watt motor. You can't go wrong. But just because a bike you're looking at has a 500 watt motor, don't think it's gonna not have enough power. It's still gonna get you up to speed just fine. It's gonna have a max wattage usually of 750. And the 750 is going to have a max wattage of 1,000. And basically what just means like the torque out the gate is going to feel different. You're going to get up to that max speed a little faster when you have more wattage, but you're going to be capped out at the same speed on most bikes. That said, there's a lot of people who do need that 750 watt motor. And for instance, if you're a heavier rider like me, if you have a lot of hills to go through, maybe you're hauling your kids. Maybe you have, you're a deer hunter and you're taking your bike into the woods and you're, hauling gear. And now the last thing I'll say here is avoid 1,000 watt motors unless you know you're only going to be riding in the woods or on trails, because 99% of the time, if you bought a 1,000 watt motor e-bike, it's no longer considered a bike. It's technically illegal. Don't do it. Know your rules at least. Okay, the fourth thing that you need to know when you're buying your next e-bike is technology. And I'm going to make this one really simple because some of these bikes are insane with how much technology you can get on them. I'll talk about the Velotric Discovery 2 as my example. That one has a Find My iPhone feature, which means you can throw your bike in the same app that you use to find like your keys with AirTags or your AirPods when you lose them. You can have your bike listed in there. It also comes with apps that help you change the settings from your phone. You can virtually lock the bike from your phone. Aventon offers these features too. It's becoming very common in these e-bikes. Some of them make you set up the app before you even go on a ride. So if this is something you like, check it out. watch some video reviews more specifically on the apps, which we will have on this channel definitely. If that's, if you're a tech guy or tech gal and you want the latest in technology, these bikes really are leaning into that. They're having really cool displays. Let me just show. Most reputable bikes are having these full color, really cool displays on them with apps that pair to the display, so you can have access to basically every fine tuning feature that you could ever want. So if that sounds intimidating, don't be afraid to go back in technology either, because at the end of the day, it's a bike and it's still going to perform very similarly. So I know a lot of our customers that come in here are like, oh gosh, I don't even want to set up an app because, I just want a bike. Well, here's a great example. Velotric here makes this new D2 with all those cool features I talked about, but they also have their Discover 1. And you can get that bike that is much more watered down, much easier to hop on and ride. You don't have to worry about an app. You don't have to worry about setting up Apple Find My iPhone, all of that stuff. Something like this Addmotor, for instance, too. Just a straight up nice e-bike that doesn't have any apps that you got to worry about. So it's worth noting, because if you've been, really considering, let's say this Discovery 2 from Velotric here, and then you get here and you're like having to set up an iPhone app and all of that sounds tedious, or you don't like the idea of that, just know that a lot of these bikes do have that now. So it's worth looking into. And if that's something that's going to deter you, you might want to take a step back in technology. Now that said, I don't find it an issue. I love this technology, and I'm sure most of you will also really find it useful. If you set it up on your phone and start to use it, it's going to be a great experience. It's going to unlock so much more that you can do with these e-bikes. So I say don't let it scare you, but if you're hearing this for the first time and you are worried, it's okay, because there's plenty of bikes where you don't have to worry about all these crazy new apps and fine tuning and setting up, all this stuff on your iPhone just to go on a bike ride. Okay, and we've made it to the fifth and final thing you need to consider when buying an e-bike, and that is the cadence versus torque sensor. And I'll sum up what that means, hopefully in an easy way here. But basically, if you were shopping for e-bikes in the last 5 years, it used to be like these hub motors that we've been looking at today, or mid-drive motors, where the mid-drive would simply assist your pedaling, and the hub motors would accelerate the bike using that rear hub that we've been looking at when we were talking about motors. Now, mid-drives right now, you're really only finding in much higher, like $5,000 to $10,000 bikes. And the technology that comes from what's called a torque sensor basically found a way to emulate the feel of those mid-drive bikes while using these hub motors. So it's the best of both worlds really now, because you get a really natural bike riding experience that you probably, if you test rode a bike a couple of years ago, or if you have owned an e-bike for a while, the old cadence sensors, it can be a little unnatural. It's a little more of a moped than a bike. So let me explain it just a little bit here. So I hopped over to this Addmotor City bike to show you what a cadence, or those older sensors, did. Now what I'm going to do is try to just slowly pedal, and I want you to focus to the sound and the amount of power that the motor starts to get as I pedal at a very slow pace. So we'll tilt this back, and we'll just slowly pedal. I'll do it one more time. Hopefully you noticed what happened there is that the second that this sensor realized that I was pedaling, it gave all the power to the motor. Now I'm on level 4, so you're getting a little more, but basically whatever level of pedal assist you're on, when the cadence sensor senses that you're pedaling, you're going to get all of that power. So if you're at level 1, it'll only give you level 1's worth, but it'll give you all of level 1's worth, and then so on and so forth. So we're at level 4, we start pedaling even slowly, and then right there you saw the torque that you got right out of the gate. And it's definitely something that you need to get used to, especially if you're new to bikes. But remember, that was the standard for every e-bike for basically the last 5 years or so that had these hub motors. And just now we're getting these torque sensors that I'm about to show you here. Okay, so now I have Aventon level, and I'm going to demonstrate the torque sensor. It's going to be a lot harder to demonstrate, but essentially what's going to happen is as I pedal this, you're going to see that it gives only the amount of energy that I'm giving it. So if I start pedaling hard, it's going to give me a lot of power like we saw in that first example. But if I pedal slow, the motor's going to be variable now. So in your 1 through 5 level of assist, it now has a gradual amount of torque that it'll give you, which is, it gives you a more dynamic, true bike experience of pedaling without having like that jarring jolt of energy that I demonstrated in the last one. So hopefully this translates. We're going to give it a try right here. Okay, so we're going to go at a slow pace. And there's actually no motor kicking on at all. Or a little bit slower. And then now I'm going to pedal hard, or demonstrate pedaling hard, to see that it's coming in at its full velocity after. So we'll go hard. Okay, so was that the most scientific way to show you? Probably not. Hopefully it got like the overall theory behind a cadence versus torque sensor, because I've heard it explained a bunch of different ways, but I've ridden all of these bikes in here 100 times each, and that's my experience with it, and maybe that would help you. I hope. So I don't know, guys. I just really wanted to make this video because when people come into the store and want to learn about these bikes, or maybe they're shopping for the first time, these are the things they ask, and we go in the exact order that I just went through here. We talk about size and what they're doing with the bike, and then that turns into how long of rides they want to go. Are they hauling their kids? Are they, all that stuff we talked about today. So hopefully this gives you a big head start, and you're going to find the perfect e-bike for you. And I'll go a step further. If you are in Michigan, please come say hi. Our whole thing here is just having these bikes on hand for you to come test ride. There's no pressure to buy. We charge the same amount as if you were to buy them online too. So also, you don't have to wait for shipping, because we keep 20 plus bikes all in stock at all 3 of our stores. So look us up online. I'm sure it's linked below. Check us out. We'd love to have you come in and just give the bikes a ride and experience e-bikes, whether it's the first time or if you're ready to upgrade. So again, my name's Larry, and if you watch this whole video, wow, you are a trooper for listening to me talk for that long. So I really do appreciate it, and thank you. Consider subscribing, and tons more e-bike videos on the way. Thanks again. I'll see ya. Bye.